Welcome to this video of Editor's League. In this video, we're going to break down the complete basics of After Effects. You're going to learn everything from all the way to opening After Effects to the deep tools that you need, and then hopefully later on, we're gonna level up the After Effects skills. But yeah, this video is for you to set the foundations. And a major problem a lot of motion designers and advanced editors face these days is actually that they don't know the right basics. They do things in a very old styled manner, in a self-taught manner, and this is a hard realization that you have to learn the basics again even after you become an expert, because it saves you time from a lot of areas when you edit. So enough chit chat, let's dive in right into After Effects. Okay, so one of the very first things that you would need is After Effects itself. Now let's break down the process of downloading After Effects. Now that can be done through downloading an app called Adobe Creative Cloud, as you can see on my screen. And then once you have Adobe Creative Cloud, you subscribe to a $15 to $20 a month subscription. Make sure to use the affiliate link below if it exists. If it doesn't, then just go to Google and search up for Adobe Creative Cloud and get this thing running. And then you could say and tell them that you're a disc, and then you can tell them that you're a student, so that way they can give it to you for all the way down to even $15 a month, which worked for me in the very starting. And then after some time passed, they did take the prices back to normal for me, and I requested to $20 a month, and it worked. So with that being said, let's dive in to After Effects. So you can see I have pretty much a lot of versions from After Effects: 2023, 2020, 2024. Well, there is no major difference between 2024 and 2023, but I do use 2024 for a lot of my projects, and 2023 I barely use it just because 2024 is more new, so I can mess more with 2023 settings because I wouldn't care about them. So with that being said, let me open. Again, doesn't matter, even if you're following this tutorial with After Effects 2020, there's literally barely any difference. However, if you are a beginner, I'd suggest you go to AE 2024. So once you open After Effects, this is probably how it would look like. And if it doesn't look like that, just go to Window, Workspace, Default. So Shift F10. Or you just go to Window and then Workspace, All Patterns, which will look like this. So the first things first, you have to understand what the screen is. What are we looking at? Why does it look so complex? First time I'm opening After Effects, and this is the thoughts in your head. You're like, what the hell is this? 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 And obviously, even if you already are an expert in After Effects, this video is for you, because there's a lot of things you might learn here and there. So obviously my aim here is to basically completely teach you After Effects within this class, whether it is basics or whatever, but we're going to be starting with the complete basics. So first thing we need is basically footage to work on. The first thing I'm going to do is literally import the footage. Now in order to import the footage, you just do right click over here and you get import file, and this is the files that I'm looking at. So let me just import this. So yeah, this is way one of importing. Another way you can import is literally just do Control-I and boom. And you can also drag the files over here. Let's not get too much into the types of ways to import and all that BS. Now you can see with our footage that we imported, we can organize this in a certain way. Over here we have this create a new folder, which is the only thing you'd need in order to organize your files. I can do, for example, video, footage, video, whatever. Select all this, add it over here, and then I could do like a folder for audio, which in this case we don't really need, but this is just for the sake of it. So now I have these organized in like a folder. You can see the audio is inside this folder and the videos are inside this folder. So yeah, literally what we gotta do is create a composition now. So yeah, first things first, what is a composition? Composition is equivalent to a sequence in Premiere Pro. So if you know Premiere Pro, sequence, or if you watched the last video, you could understand sequence very well. So composition is like sequence, but in After Effects. So how to create one? either you can click over here, or this is the most famous button what everyone uses, create a new composition. I can see there are pretty much a lot of settings over here, and we have even these, so you don't need to touch with advanced and 3D renderer for now. This is what we're going to look at. You can see we have a lot of presets over here that is already set and made. So yeah, we're gonna work with 4K because the latest trends, everything is 4K. Iman Gadzhi edits in 4K. However, we can also edit in 1080p, which would just make the process faster, and then render in 4K. Anyways, before we get too much into that, let's say for example I select this, so it's gonna be HD 1920 by 1080p. I hope you guys know what that is. Very simple. And then the frame rate 24, for example. Let's set this to 30. We have the resolution. This doesn't matter, just leave it for now. We have time code and duration. Let's say you want the duration of your video to be like 5 seconds, so you can like go over here 5, and then the best way to do it is literally if you put the duration that you want. So for example 5, then you keep adding zeros, and you can see over here it says 050000, and if I create it, it's a 5-minute composition. Now in composition you can drag your video. It's where everything goes onto the timeline. Composition is very important because once you create the composition, this is where you can edit, and where you can preview your edits and everything is the composition and the window of the composition. So you can see over here, the preview is the composition. And for you it might be black. For me the setting is a bit messed up, so don't worry about that. Anyways, we have our video over here, which is cam 1. What I'm gonna do is you can literally just drag it. And now you can see that the video, if I just do a scroll wheel down, the video is way bigger than the composition because the composition is set at 1080p. However, the video is 4K, so it's up by 4 times more. What we can do is we can scale the video down to match the composition by literally just doing this, holding shift. You can see we scaled the video down, and then if I go to align, I can do this and this, and it's gonna be fit. Another way just to automatically fit it is doing Control Alt, hold your layer F. You can see, so even if my layer is like, I don't know, messed up, I do Control Alt F, it's automatically fit and perfect. Now we have this Iman Gadzhi layer. Now the next thing you gotta know before we get into editing and everything is the timeline. Now what is the timeline? You can see over here, I can make the timeline bigger. Anyways, in the timeline we have these couple of options. Over here is preview options. If I click on this, the layers just disappeared, it's not showing us. If I do this, the audio doesn't play, and these two, ignore them for now. We're gonna get more into that. We have this label color, we have modes over here which you don't gotta focus on, track mats, no need to focus on for now. And then we have a couple of layers over here. This is shy layer, so you can sometimes hide you can hide layers within the composition without deleting them. So if I click on this button, you can see it's hidden, but it actually exists, it's just hidden. But if I delete, it's gonna go. So this is a way you can hide. Just leave this on its own, leave this on its own. This you'll barely need it if you edit like Iman Gadzhi. Motion blur, something we'll get into later. 3D and everything, we'll get into everything later. Now you can see we have this thing, it's called playhead. A very important thing. This shows where you are currently previewing your things. So you can see if I move it, the thing over here, the timer over here is showing me exactly where the playhead is, and you can see the clip ends on 5 minutes, starts on like minute 0, and yeah, playhead is where you're currently previewing your timeline, which is very, very important. And you can see, for example, if I play, you can preview it, just preview. This doesn't mean that the video will export in the settings, just preview. You can preview it in like quarter settings. You can see it's very low quality right now. I can preview it in full quality settings, half quality settings. So the lower the quality, the faster the preview times, which is something very, very important. Anyways, let's get into messing with the layer itself. Now, we don't want to get too much into things like trimming in After Effects and stuff, because then it eliminates the point of Premiere Pro, because on Premiere Pro you can do it very, very fast. So if you saw my PR extended video, you can see how fast we were trimming. In After Effects that's not the case. There is not like one-click shortcuts and stuff. It's not made for trimming, it's made for motion designing. However, obviously you can do things like trimming and all that. Now you can see over here in the video we have this little triangle, and using this little triangle you can basically cut the video out and if I click anywhere in the middle, I can literally just move the layer on whatever second I want. So for example, I wanted to play on second number 1. Let me just make the timeline a bit shorter. 500, that means it will be 5 seconds. So for example, if I play the clip on this part, now we have an empty second, and then after it the clip starts playing. Another thing you can do is you can like trim the video by seeing this little triangle. So let's say if I do this, now it starts from a different place. Let's say for example, if I want Iman to start like literally from here, then I can just drag the triangle thingy, and a very useful shortcut is Alt and left bracket, which is very important. Alt left bracket, it cuts. And if I bring this over here, you can see now it starts from this moment rather than an empty chair. So let me just undo that. Another way you can trim your videos is by splitting. So how can you split? By doing Control Shift D, and your layer splits, and then you can delete the first half of the split layer, and you can see it starts very early rather than having the chair for a very long time. And then we can also drag this arrow, so now everything will be empty and it will start exactly from where we want to. And then you can drag this to like second number 0. So the second we play the composition, we have Iman Ghazi starting like this. And then we have something called the work area. The work area is what we are able to preview. What's the work area? What are we working on? So for example, what I'm working on right now is 5 seconds only. And this video is 5 minutes. So it's really not enough. So you can see over here, if I keep playing it, it only plays for 5 seconds and the video repeats itself. So you can even reduce the work area to like 2 seconds. Let's say you have a scene which is only 2 seconds and you want to animate that, so you're going to make your work area 2 seconds. But in this case, we just want to make the work area for the whole video, so I'm going to do 5 and then 1 2 3 4. You can see over here it says 5 minutes. And now if I zoom out using this, I can zoom out the timeline by literally like taking this, and you can see our work area is 5 minutes, and I can drag the video all the way upon how I want it. Now, very important note, we need to save this file, because if we don't save it, if I close After Effects, everything we have done will just be gone. So how to save it? You go to File and you do Save. You can see in video 3, Editor's Rig module, I'm gonna do After Effects Basics Training, and over here we have this video saved. So if I close After Effects and I open, everything will be as to how we left it in the first place. So yeah, now let's break down the workflow and everything in After Effects generally, just in order for us to understand what we are looking more at a deeper level. So we have these things over here which you might not be able to see actually. If I click over here, you can see it disappears. You have these little buttons which show them, which I suggest having like the first 2 on and the last one off. So you can see over here we have this. Let's sync the audio with the video. So the audio, I believe, is gonna be exactly synced with the video if I just play both of them at the same time.
A lot of fluff out there, and so listen, there is a lot of fluff out there, and in fact
so now if I'm playing the video, let's just look at it.
Of fluff out there. There is,
you can see the video is automatically synced. Now let's just get into a bit of trimming and text and stuff, just so we can dive a bit deeper. Let's see exactly where he starts speaking.
There is so listen.
So if I hold Control, by the way, and I keep playing my panel, you can see there'll be like little sound. It's called scrubbing, I think, which is something very important in order to know where the first letter started. So I'm gonna scrub through and see where he started. So I'm gonna hold Control and play.
There.
Okay, so here it is. He says the. So this is where we're gonna start, and what I'm gonna do is Alt left bracket. You can see the clip is cut, so it's gonna start directly from here.
There is a lot of fluff out there,
and let's say we want to stop it the second he says out there, when he finishes out there. So we're gonna do Alt and then right bracket, so this does the exact opposite. Now I can just drag both of these, as I told you guys in the starting. If I hold Shift, it snaps. So if I hold Shift, it will snap it to the very starting. And then let's use the zoom out zoom in feature, go at the end of the clip. So in order to jump to the end of the clip, you can just take your panel over there, or you can click on your clip and press O, and it takes the time head automatically there. So if I'm anywhere, I click on my keyboard, it took me automatically here. And now, as I told you, the work area is very important, because now we only want to mess with this 5 seconds and where he says there is a lot of fluff out there. So to automatically pan this to where you want it rather than dragging it, because we're not old school, we're very new school, we want to do everything the shortest and the best way. I'm just gonna click B, or actually I'm just gonna click N, and you can see it automatically drags this. So if I do Control Z, click N, you can see this came over here. And let me zoom out. Now I will right click, trim comp to work area. So my composition will be trimmed exactly to the work area. Now you can see our work area is 5 seconds or whatever. The duration is like 3.3 seconds exactly to the video. So let's play it. You can see it will loop automatically.
There is a lot of fluff out there. There is a lot of fluff out there.
Amazing. So that is exactly what we need. Let's start with something very, very simple, which is just text, because we immediately want to get into the shape layers, the tools and everything. Let's start with something very simple, which is gonna say there is a lot of fluff out there. So you can see over here we have all these important tools, which is first thing our selection tool, which everything we can select through. We have this hand tools. If I click my hand, you can see, well, it doesn't really move the video, it's just for the composition. It's very important and it's very useful. Then we have the zoom in, which is completely useless because you can use your keyboard and mouse to zoom out and zoom in, just by doing wheel up and wheel down. Then we have these, which you can ignore. Rotation tool, something you should ignore, don't even focus at it. Anyways, we need the text tool from here. So I'm gonna, wherever I click with the text tool, that's where the text will start from. So let's say randomly, I'm just gonna click here. I can see they gave us the default settings, which is Arial, bold, with fill and stroke, whatever. I'm just gonna write, there is a lot of fluff out there. Okay, I'm gonna take this text, go to my selection tool and drag it wherever I want to. Make sure you guys remember the shortcuts. The selection tool is V, so I will keep clicking V often. So there is a lot of fluff out there. I can make my paragraph like center text, which doesn't matter. I can also align my text rather than doing it manually and figuring out where to do it. I can align. So if I go to align, I can just click over here. Now it's exactly in the middle, exactly in the middle. There's no any mistakes. The symmetrical is exactly in the middle. And let's say I want to take it to the middle of the screen vertically as well, I can do this. Anyways, we don't want it to the middle of the screen vertically, we want it more towards the lower side. You can see I can align the bottom as well. Now the problem is it's in the very bottom. Let's just hold shift and take it a bit up. Now let's edit the text a bit more because it looks ugly at this point. So I'm gonna double click. You can see the properties for the text already pulled out automatically. I can make the font like Arial, black, doesn't matter. Let's compress the font a bit because you can see it's a bit stretched out. And so I'm gonna just zoom in, and then I can go to the hand button and look, this is where I can like drag down just so I can view that area. Even if I'm zoomed in, I can view that area. You can see it doesn't make any difference to the video itself, it's just for you to preview in the most comfortable way that you want to. So we have this text that says there is a lot of fluff out there. I'm gonna change the fill to something that is white. Let's make this a bit more compressed. As I said, I'm gonna hold control, which makes it move at a very slow pace. So I'm gonna compress it. If I even select all this and I go to like character, you can see over here we have way more settings. So I can like compress the text, compress even the actual compressions of the text this way. I'm gonna make this like 90. Can add like stroke if you want to. You can see we have very big strokes. If I do like small strokes, you can see they're visible. This is a stroke. You can change your stroke color by going here, making it whatever you want. And this is our fill layer, which is basically what the color is filled with. And you can see I have my text selected and this is selected. That means it automatically makes it all capital. So yeah, let's keep that at capital. We have this to make it bolder, to make this go italic mode, this to go like small caps or some shit. I'm not sure what this is. And then we have this BS options, which we don't really need. So yeah, there is a lot of fluff out there. By the way, instead of going to the hand tool, if you just hold space on your keyboard, you can like move this however you want, and then you literally just release the space and it takes you automatically to the selection tool. Something very important, so you can see if I want to move anytime, how I want to move. I want to take this over here, I want to have deep looks, then holding space helps a lot. There is a lot of fluff out there. Let's set the anchor point in the middle. So I'm gonna do Control Home, Alt Home. Now the anchor point is in the middle. Now let's get into editing the text. So yeah, I mean, I'm just clicking anything, you know, making it look as good as possible. There's a lot of fluff out there. So let me just increase the gapping and decrease the compressiveness. Now you can see this is something that's very, very smooth. So the first things first, we can animate this in a simple way or in a way where it's a bit more complex. Now look, let's make this a bit more complex so you guys can learn more, and then we also move over to comp number 2. In that way you'd be able to understand the whole perspective. Anyways, we have this text. Now we're gonna learn a new thing here. It's called duplicating. In order to duplicate, let's go to edit and duplicate. You can see there's a shortcut which is Control D. So this is what we're gonna be using from now. Now what we want to do is we want to separate all the words. You can see this layer is all the words combined into one, and we want to separate it into each layer so that we can then customize each layer letter by letter or word by word, sorry. Now obviously with the introduction of scripts and everything, we can do this with a button of a click, but let me show you guys the manual way before we get into scripts and stuff. Some things that you guys will learn in the AE extended video where I'll teach you guys how to get the effects and presets and everything. So yeah, let's duplicate this to the number of words 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we need to duplicate this 7 more times and then we'll have 8 copies. So selected on the layer, went into selection tool as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Even my shortcut says that I did the shortcut 7 times. Now let's separate this word by word. Actually, before we separate this, there is a step I forgot that is very important. You can see in the paragraph over here, it says center text. Let's make this left align text, get into align, and now we do it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we have this. Let me go on each word. The first sentence, the first thing will be there. So you can see even over here it says there only. Is. You can see because it's left aligned, the text is automatically moved to the left side, which is something we'll fix, but don't worry about it. Now, do you guys remember when I told you that we have this thing that you don't have to worry about? Now, look, the text is duplicating, and when I delete the text, so if I take it up, you can see that when I delete the text, it's like automatically moved to the left. Let's say instead of you having to move this above and to preview it, and in order to delete it and everything, you have to like take it up. We have this which is called solo layer. So solo layer will only show that layer that is soloed. So let me undo. Okay, so we can go to this version and I do solo layer, and now I can see. So there is, this will be only the letter A. I'm gonna unsolo this, solo the thing above it, and we want only the lot. So delete, boom. Now solo the layer above it, off, solo the layer above it. You can even solo 2 layers at once. So that's something that's very good. Fluff over here, go to transform, and if I rotate, you can see it's gonna rotate towards the anchor point, and this anchor point has to be in the middle of the word, which is very important. So I'm gonna select all of this. Okay, select all the layers, press and then hold shift, select the upper layer so everything is selected, and then I'll do Control Shift Home, and then Control Alt Home or Alt Control Home, whatever. But yeah, now you can see the anchor point is moved to the middle of each text layer. So now if I rotate, you can see it will rotate from the middle. Anyways, let's get into the properties panel. How did I even rotate this? This is called transform. So transform, self-explanatory word. It means how you can transform your layer, how you can transform it by position, how you can rotate it, how you can scale it up and down. the opacity, the transparency of the layer, and everything. This was also covered in the Premiere Pro model where I went on the transform, but even if you did not watch that, let me make this very perfect. However, if you did watch that, you'll know fundamentals and stuff of this. That means you'll pretty much just adapt what you learned in Premiere Pro for transform onto After Effects. Anyways, now let's get into transform. Let's say we want to position our layer. We want to move the position. You can see if I move this, it moves it up and down. If I move this, moves it right and left. And if I want to go like diagonal and stuff, then I have to do it from the layer itself. You can see if I even select the layer, the properties is automatically getting adjusted. So I'm gonna undo to take it to its default position. And then we have scale. You can see if I scale it up, it goes very big. If I scale it down, it goes very small. And then we have the rotation, and we have opacity, which is the transparency of the layer. So we also have this clock thingy. Now, what is this clock? This clock is called keyframing, which is one of the most important factors when it comes to After Effects. Why we use After Effects? Why we use Premiere Pro? How is everything animated? How does the app understand that I want to move my layer from this moment to this moment in this amount of time using keyframes? The app is not smart, but you can use keyframes in order to explain to the app what you want to do. So let's say I want to move my layer for it to go from all the way down to coming up, which is the animation that we were going for. So I'm gonna do a press on that clock. So now we have this little dot, which is referred to as a keyframe. And let's say I go 1 second from here and I place another keyframe. Now you can see the adjustments. There has been no adjustment, so there is no changes. Keyframe is basically, it remembers the properties that you have put on that certain dot, and then it creates the motion. So if I go on this keyframe and I place this down, you can see we have this line that's made. We go on the hand tool. This is how the hand tool helps. And as I told you guys, if you hold space, you can just do the hand tool as well. You can see it created a motion from this keyframe to this keyframe. And if I play it, it ends at the second one, and after it, it's just like still over there, like an image. So you can see this is why keyframe helps us. Let's say if I was to even keyframe the rotation, for example, so I will click on the timer over here, and let's say I want to rotate it by boom, like 180 degrees. You can see it's gonna keep rotating. Same case for the scale. If I just take the scale, I move the thing over here, I'm gonna do this. You can see now it's coming in a very weird way. Anyways, let me undo all of this. We only want to do position in this situation. So we want the position to,
there is,
as you guys can see, all the way here. Now we want to do this for all the layers. So what is a faster way we can do it? Is that we literally go select all of the layers and we press over here, go to transform. If I select P, you can see all of them are keyframed. If I go on transform and open it, you can see everything is automatically keyframed. And this is because we don't have the arrow click down. Arrow means expand. If it's not expanded, it just shows you as a bit of a dot, which you cannot adjust. And in order to adjust, you have to press expand, and then you can adjust. But you can see once I added on one layer, all of the layers got added as well because I had everything selected. So let me select everything again, hold shift, boom, click, and position it down. I can see all of them have the movement. Now this movement is very useful, very important. And let's say now we want to make the movement a bit more smooth. We want to make the movement more synchronized. Like, why did we even separate all the letters, all the words into different layers in the first place if everything is gonna be coming in this way? So now what I can do is I can delay the layers. If you guys remember when I was explaining about trimming, you can delay the layers. So I will delay this by like 0.5 seconds. It's a bit flipped, it's flipped, so let me do it from down. More 0.5 seconds again, 0.5 seconds again. So I just keep jumping 0.5 seconds. And if you wanna, rather than using your mouse, if you wanna jump 0.5 seconds, it's not 0.5, sorry, I think it's 0.05, which is 5 frames. It's referred to as frames. If you wanna jump that without having to use your mouse, you do shift and then right arrow, shift control right arrow. So I jumped like 10 frames, and then I'm just gonna drag this, and if I press on the left bracket, the layer is automatically add it to my playhead, like it snapped to my playhead. So I'm gonna go here, click on left bracket. You can see it automatically snapped. Go here, click on left bracket, automatically snapped, rather than you having to move it with your mouse. So now let's look at it. Amazing. Now that's not too bad. We want to get into graphing, and graphing is something that will require a long lesson, which is something that we will cover in the next tutorial. But for now, I'm gonna get into very basics of graphing, and then we'll get into the depthness of graphing, which is something very important. Why am I making a complete different tutorial just for graphing? Because it defines your motion. It's 99% of your motion. This looks very ugly, but because it has no graphing, it looks very still, it looks in a direct movement. So what is graphing? If you have done physics, then you'll know something called as to speed and time, and that is what we use graphics. You don't need to understand physics, it's actually just common sense, it's logic, and the logic is something hard to explain, but I hope you guys get it with just me showing you. Now look, imagine I want to display all the keyframes that I have for each layer. Instead of having to press on expand and then go to transform and expand again, there's a better way. You just press U on your keyboard and it automatically just snaps out the layer or the property of transform that has a keyframe on it. So if I select all of those and I click U, you can see all the keyframes are displayed. It's a very important shortcut. And also, let's say you want to like open the position property without having to like expand and then expand blah blah, you can just press P. So if I press P, you can see position comes out. If you press S, scale comes out. If you press R, rotation comes out. For opacity, it's a bit different, which is going to be T, not O, because if I press O, if you guys already remember, it will basically take me to the end of the layer. It takes me to the end of the layer, and if I press I, it will take me to the starting of the layer, the playhead. So yeah, for opacity is T, and then if I do A, there is also anchor point, which is something we're not going to use. So yeah, let me press P. So now I have position, and I'm gonna select all of this and right click and go to something called keyframe assistant, easy ease. Now easy ease, you can see there is already graphing. Graphing means there is already a mess with the speed and time. Within the same amount of time, the speed is a bit changed up. You can see this, the there is not in like a still linear movement. It's going fast. I mean, starting slow, going fast, starting slow again. So look at it. If you realize, it's like that. And if I click here, I can see the graphs. Now, this looks overcomplicated, but this is the graph settings that you need for now. You have to press over here, copy this, press over here, copy this, and make it edit speed graph. So speed graph is way easier to use. I'm very good at value graph as well, but the value graph is something you'll know later on. Just yeah, copy all of these settings. Now let's do this layer by layer so that you're not confused. Now we have this, you can see this represents speed, and time, this represents time. So from dot 1 to dot 2 is in 1 second. So speed is basically within the waves of lines. So you can see over here we have like a curve. So imagine the higher the graph, the faster it is. You can see it's gonna start slow, speed up to like 400 pixel per second, and then slow down to 0 pixel per second, which is basically what speed graph is referred to. And you can adjust this. Let's say I move this pinpoint to all the way to the left side. Now you can see, you can imagine, just try to imagine what will happen. I'll give you 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. If you didn't guess it already, it starts very slow, and then in a very short amount of time, after just 0.06 second, it goes to a very high speed, which is 1000 pixel per second. You don't need to know the values, by the way, that's something very useless. But yeah, you can see this is the peak, and then it slows down eventually to go to 0, and then it doesn't move anymore. So let me just play it so you can see it. Can you see? I'm gonna solo the layer. It starts slow, goes all the way fast, and then slows down. You can see at this point it's very slow, but at this point it's very fast. I just play like 0.05 seconds and it's like going very fast. So this is actually the graph that we're going for. for all of them. Now, why did it look a bit complicated in the starting? It's because when I selected all of the keyframes and I did the graph, it's like it's showing all of them. But if I think about it, if you think about it and you like select the right side, it's actually very hard because it's overlapping. So we can do this like layer by layer. So let me select this, boom, take it in front, boom, take this in front, boom, take this in front. And now all of them are doing the exact same graphing. But so let me play it. Let me unsolo the layer so everything is playing. So yep, that is what we have for there is a lot of fluff out there. You can see the graph is very, very useful. It made the animation way more smooth. So let me, for example, if I revert it back to normal, I can hold Control and press on any keyframe, and I have selected all of them. We go back to normal, which is referred to as linear. And look at this. Can you see how much shit this is now that we compare it to this? It's a major difference, which is why I'm making a complete different video. And this is something that's very, 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 very important. So this is how it looks. There is a lot of fluff out there. And as you guys can guess, if I select like the second part of the timestamp, I can move this back and forth. I can make it like slower. Now you can see it will be way slower because now it's like extended by 1 more second. So yeah, with keyframes you can do a lot of changes. But yeah, for now we're just gonna touch the position for this, because if we touch anything else like scale and stuff, to look kind of bad. Now with that being said, let's move on to another scene in which we can explore a bit more and get into more complexity. Let's make a new composition. So in order to make a new composition, we're just gonna click here, create a new composition, and I'm gonna name this scene 2. Now we're gonna be using the same audio and video, so I can just go here, I'll copy, paste. Let me expand this to a scene that we can edit. Okay, so I found the scene where he like mentions 3 things, and this is the scene that we're gonna be editing. And I'll just trim it down just in front of your eyes so you can tell how to trim things as well. And again, we're gonna be using Premiere Pro for things like trimming because it gets way faster, the wavelengths are way better and everything. So anyways, to expand the audio, I can click on L and then L again. So double L quickly expands the audio. And let's play and listen to what he's saying.
Into the top 10%, and I'm talking the top 10% when it comes to your income, when it comes to your health, Now
you can see over here he says health, and I can zoom in using this. There's another way where you can zoom in is holding Alt, and then wherever your mouse cursor is, it will zoom in that part, which is something that's way better. And I'm gonna select even the video and the audio and do Control Shift D so we can split. And I'll click double L again.
When it comes to your track,
you can see over here he stuttered, so we want him to like say it after he stuttered. And I'm gonna do Alt left bracket or Control Shift D again and delete this. Now after I've deleted this, I can just drag this and hold Shift so that it like snaps. So let's listen to the audio now.
And I'm talking the top 10% when it comes to your income, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your attractiveness.
Okay, so now that's what we want: health, income, and attractiveness. Let me just cut it over here, Control Shift D and delete. And as I told you guys, if I click N, my work area will be shortened down to my playhead, and I'll right click and I'll do trim comp to work area. So now we have the complete composition is on the work area. So let's listen to the audio one last time.
And I'm talking the top 10% when it comes to your income, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your attractiveness.
Okay, perfect. Now let's get into an idea. My idea over here is that I'm gonna make 3 shape layers, one that says health, income, and attractiveness, and then all of them can join. So if I was to open like Google Paint quickly, so this is a random website which says Paint. Let me just open it up, and we're gonna have like a triangle that says health. Don't mind like the handwriting, who cares. I actually flipped the triangle, so let me just erase this and fix it up. So the triangle is gonna be like this, health, okay, with the icon maybe, and then another one that says income, and then another one that says attractiveness. So yeah, 3 triangles that are looking a bit better than what it looks over here. And then maybe like they spin around. We're gonna get a bit more creative, but this is just the rough idea. So let me get into shape layers. Now shape layers is something that's very important. So you can see over here we have rectangle tool, and if I hold this, we are expanded into more options, which is star tool, polygon tool, ellipse tool, rounded rectangle, and rectangle tool. But then we have also a pen tool. And once I select either the pen tool or the shape layer, you can see over here we have something called fill. Fill is basically your layer filled up. So is it going to be filled up or no? And then we have stroke. Stroke is the outer lines. So if I draw a random line like this, you can see it has a stroke, and this stroke I can literally like increase and decrease and make it 0. So let's say for example I'm just going to conjoin these. Now if I make this stroke 0, the inner is what we call fill, because you can see over here fill is not selected. So if I click on fill and I put it like white, now the inner part is filled up. And if I click over here, I can remove the fill, and also I can mess with the opacity of the fill. So if I click on fill, I can mess with the opacity, boom, and increase the stroke. So yeah, I hope you get my point with fill and stroke right now. I'm just gonna delete this and let's get into making the triangles. Now, how to draw a triangle? Let's say if we want to draw a square, for example, a rectangle square. If I drag this, you can see my fill. Let me make the opacity 100, stroke 0. Now we have like a square made. If I hold this, there is even rounded rectangles, so the rounds are not too, trunk, they're not sharp. And then we have ellipse, which is a circle, and if I hold shift, it's going to be an exact circle. So in the same case, we have also the polygon. If I select the polygon tool, you can see it's not aligned properly, but if I hold shift, now I have the polygon tool, and I'm going to take the anchor point in the middle of the polygon tool by doing Control Alt Home. And then let me just align this in the middle by going align, making it like in the middle of the screen. And then if I click on the layer, if I expand the layer, and you can see there is contents, it says polystar 1. If I click on this as well, and then we have path, we have stroke. As I told you guys, the stroke you can increase, decrease. These are just deeper settings. You can like do a lot of changes over here, which we might get into like later on, not now, like eventually, but don't worry about those. Then we have like the polypath. In polypath, you can see there is something called points. If I increase the points, we have like so many points. And obviously if we go like above a certain limit, all the points conjoin into a circle. But if I decrease the point, I can take it even all the way down to 3, which makes it a triangle. And this is what we wanted the whole time, triangle. So I'm gonna make it 3 points. So a triangle has 3 points, 1, 2, 3. These are 3 points. And then yeah, other stuff we don't really need to touch. So I'm gonna select this. I'm gonna make the fill 0. I'll make the stroke around 7. So it's between 5 and 10. And then let's get into like just creating some text. I wanted to get into icons. Then icons is something that is very hard to draw. However, if I search up Google and I literally write health icon image and make sure it's PNG, we have like this icon. I don't know if this is PNG. I don't think it is. We just go on another health icon. For example, this one. Let me save image. Boom. And I can drag this right into After Effects. I can now scale this down. If I press S, if you remember, I can scale this down. And we have like a triangle with the heart. I'll select selection tool. I can zoom out. You can see now we have this. I can make it bigger so that it fits more. And I'm playing the video in quarter quality, by the way. Not sure how that happened. And I can like scale this and even like drag it down. Keep scaling this, drag it. Now you can see it looks a bit big, so I'll scale it down. But yeah, this is a rough of something that we have. Now let's create more versions of these, the other triangles. Before creating the other triangles, let's duplicate this triangle so we don't have to remake it. So I'm just gonna duplicate, select the triangle, duplicate, Control D, gonna select both of these, take them up, label them as a different color, and then I will select 2 of these. Okay, so now we want to join them into one layer. So imagine if I want to move my shape layer, even the heart is moving with it. The heart is not moving with it, sorry. So let's say I want to join them into one layer. You can see this is the heart layer and this is the triangle layer. We want to join them into one. How? if we select both of these and we right click, we have something called pre-compose, and this is very, very important. I'm gonna tell you guys in a minute what it does. If I press on pre-compose, we have these options. The option should always be move all attributes into a new composition, adjust new composition duration to the timestamp of selected layers. I'm gonna select OK. Now you can see it says pre-comp 1 and it's like one layer. It's conjoined into one layer. And if I press this, there is a composition within the composition which has joint layers. So I hope you get my point. That's why it's called a pre-composition. It's like a composition within a composition. And in this composition, even like if I do any changes, for example, let's say I add a line and I go to the main mother composition, we can say it's added over here as well. So let me just delete this. Now we have this composition with the hard triangle. Let me just hide this so we can get on with the other triangles. So we had health, income. Let me search up income icon, PNG. Or I'm just gonna write money bag icon PNG, something very simple. Select this, save image as, boom, drag this, scale it down. Now we want to use the image that is already made as a reference, so we make sure everything is scaled to a certain level. So I will take this pre-comp, and you might not be able to see it, but I will move it to the left. Okay, ignore this extra shape layer, and just so we can match the placement and everything. So I'll use my hand tool to take it to the left. I'll scale this down. I'll keep taking this down, so we just make sure of the sizes. So you can see the size is very fine. It's very similar, so we're good. Now I will pre-compose these two as well. So I'm gonna name them money triangle pre-comp. So now I have money triangle pre-comp and we have the heart triangle pre-comp, and we need the last one, which is attractiveness pre-comp, attractiveness icon PNG. We have this, which looks pretty decent. Save image as, boom, drag it, repeat the same process. Let me like literally just take this to the left, enable my shape layer. You can see this is eye off, it was eye off, now it's on. And I will zoom in using the hand tool, scale. There's a lot better ways we can do this, by the way. Usually I finish this in like 5 seconds, but I'm just doing it a bit more manually just for you guys to get the point and understand as much as possible. And then through that way you'd know the shortcuts and everything. We can't be taking shortcuts from the first day, you get me? So yeah, now we have these three, and let me pre-compose this and name it as eye triangle. And literally let's get into animating these. Now let's say I want to animate, you know, this triangle. Let's say I'll make it like come up on the left, and this one I'll make it come up on the right and whatever. But yeah, let's sync it to the video, by the way. So let me increase the desktop audio and let's sync it to the audio.
And I'm talking the top 10% when it comes to your income.
So I can also place a marker by pressing by pressing on the start button, or I think Shift 8. So now Shift 8, I can select this and I'll write income. So this is where it will be on the left side, because in English we start from the left side. So the money is in the right position.
When it comes to your health,
here he says health. So I'm gonna do Shift 8 again and I'll write health.
When it comes to your attractive,
and here he says attractiveness. So Shift 8 again and write health. Now what I'll do is I'll sync these animations exactly to income, health, and like just, oh, I think I misplaced it, attractiveness, to exactly when he says it. So we have the money. I'm gonna drag this over here so it starts from here, and I'm gonna do like an animation that is very good, very simple, by pressing P, position, and we also need scale. So scale, and we'll also use rotation. And if I click U, you can see everything that I have keyframed will pop out. So I'll go like 1 second in front of where I am. So I'm at 2 seconds 07. I'm gonna go to 3 seconds 07, and I'll do the keyframes again. Now I'll go to the starting keyframes and I'll take like the position down. Let me rotate it by like, you know, 180 degrees and make the scale come from 0. So 0 means that the layer will be at 0 scale, and it will go all the way to default, which is 100. 100 is always default. 0 means non-existent. So now if I play this, you can see
when it comes to your health,
this is the animation that we have, which is something that's very,
when it comes
simple.
to your health,
and we need to graph this up. So let me take this and do right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. You can see there is a shortcut which is F9. So I'm gonna use F9 this time because it's a very important one. F9, go to the graph editor and just drag this. And you might be able to see that this is flipped. That's because it's just the way rotation works. The scale is not flipped. And position, so if I play it now,
when it comes to your health,
you can see how smooth it is. It is a bit fast, so we can extend this, you know, and I'll drag the layer a bit earlier so you can see now.
Income, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your income.
Okay, when he says income, the layer should be popped up, so I did delay it a bit.
Comes to your income, when it comes to your...
Here he says health, so now the health will come on the left side. I will actually zoom in Iman Gadzi and I'll take him to the middle of the screen, just because he's not in the middle of the screen currently, just so we can spread the elements. Now we have, you know, the health triangle. Let me do the exact same process. Position all the way like from down. Gonna place another position keyframe, take this down. You can see now it's gonna come from down like this. And what I'll do is I'll copy paste this scale and rotation rather than recreating it. For position, why can't we copy paste? Because then it's gonna copy paste the position of that layer. It's gonna like overlap. It's gonna take the position exactly there. So we can only copy paste the scale and rotation. So if I copy and paste, and if I press U right now, you can see I'll extend out the position. Press F9 on the position. Boom. Let me just do the graph, and now you'd be able to see
health. When it comes to your health,
when he says health. So let me just drag this so that at this point it's already here. Health. So let's play this.
And I'm talking the top 10% when it comes to your income, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your
attractiveness. You can see why the layer zoomed out, because we had a split. So I edited the scale on the layer before it was a split. So this layer went back to default. So we want to copy paste the transform. So I'm going to copy and literally paste, and the transform is now pasted again. And we have this attractiveness box which is left. I'm gonna make this like a bit smaller than the others. Like the default scale is gonna be a bit smaller, and we can have it in the middle. So let me just press left bracket so it's dragged, and I'll do position. If I hold shift, by the way, now you can see, let's say I want to open position, scale and rotation. If I press P, I have position, but let's say I want to open scale as well. How? If I press S, it won't. So what I have to do is I have to hold shift and then press on that letter. So shift S, you can see S is also opened up, and shift R, R is also, so instead of replacing, it's added. So I'm gonna keyframe these two as well. Let me come here, boom, keyframe all of them, go into starting. I can actually copy paste the scale, which is something I should have done, but this was just for the sake of showing you guys. So I'm gonna paste, so it's pasted now. Now I'll drag the position so it's fixed as well. F9, let me do this, and now let's look at the animations.
The top 10% when it comes to your income, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your attractiveness, and I'm talking the top 10%.
Okay, over here you can see that the layer disappears, but that is because it's starting early when it shouldn't. So I'm gonna just drag this keyframe like this, for example, and I'm gonna bring this out here, and I'm gonna just remove the extra part for no reason.
Top 10% when it comes to your income, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your attractiveness.
So yeah, we have this very, very simple animation, which is very clean. By now, you guys should have understood a lot from After Effects actually. Now, let's get into more things as making this animation even better. How? We're gonna add effects and presets, maybe adjust on the colors and stuff, and final adjustments, and then get right into rendering. So yeah, let's adjust these. Let's make it better. How can we make it better? First thing, we have like the effects and presets. You can see over here there is a panel called effects and presets, and in the video where I go over the scripts and effects and presets, this is something very important because I have a lot of presets. You can just copy paste a lot of external effects that you would need to download, maybe crack, maybe you purchase, and scripts as well, which is not something we're going to cover in this video. So let's add like a glow on these layers. So I'm going to write up glow. You can see over here we have a lot of glow, and you might not have all of these options. That's because I have external effects, which is something again I covered in that video, but this is something you'd have, which says normal glow. So if I select this, I can like literally drag it onto my layer. If I drag it onto my money triangle layer, you can see a glow is added. It looks kinda ugly, so let's fix up on it, let's make it better. So first thing, we have something called glow threshold. Over here is the effects panel, by the way. Here is where all the effects are added on this left side. So I can just mess with these settings. We have like the glow threshold, the glow radius, meaning how much would it glow. So if I do glow radius a lot, you can see it glows, the glow spread is a lot. And we have the glow intensity. You can see the more I make it, the worse it looks, and the more it is visible. We can make like the glow on top, behind, whatever. And I can even like show you before and after of the glow. So if I click on this button, it basically disables. If I click on it again, it enables. So you can see now this is enabled. Then we have like color loops and stuff, which is something we don't need. But yeah, let me increase the intensity, maybe decrease the radius or make the radius fine. So yeah, we have like a glow on this, which looks pretty ugly, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, this is just for the sake of it. I'm gonna copy this glow and paste it onto the eye triangle pre-composition and the health triangle pre-composition now, so that you can see the glow is added on all of them. And if I play it,
when it comes to your income, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your track.
This is just one of the effects. We can add like way more effects. If you guys realize, Iman Gadzhi has this effect which makes the things a bit laggier. So it's called posterized time. If I write posterized time and I drag it onto my layer and I make this like 16 frame rates, you can see.
When it comes to,
let's look at this.
when it comes to your income,
the money triangle looks a bit laggier. If I like, for example, make this something very low, like 3, it's gonna be way too laggy.
Comes to your income, when it comes to your income, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your income, when it comes to your.
And usually when I add posterized time, I add it on top of everything by once. But how? Now obviously I cannot add a laggy effect on top of Iman Gadzhi's face as well. That way Iman Gadzhi's face will start lagging. But I want to do it on the pre-compositions only. Now we have something that is very important, which is called adjustment layers. And in adjustment layers, you can basically add effects. It's made for effects. On it, you can add any effect that you want. If I right click over here and I go to new, we have something called adjustment layers. Now we have all of those, which is text, solid, light, camera, and we're gonna get into all of those eventually. But right now we just want to focus on a certain topic, on certain things that we want to do. And then eventually when we dive deeper into After Effects, there'll be a lot of things that you'll learn. But yeah, let me add adjustment layer. And now on the adjustment layer, for example, for instance, if I click on my pre-composition that has the money triangle and I copy the effect and I paste it on the adjustment layer, it's like literally doubling it. And the glow is only added on colors. Over here, Iman Gadzhi's face is not getting detected for some reason, not sure why. But anyways, on this I can add the posterized time. So if I drag the posterized time, if I make it 16 FPS, now everything in the video will be 16 FPS. Now look at Iman, he'll be way laggier. Let me play this in quarter, and as I told you guys, when you play it in quarter, it's very fast.
And I'm talking the top 10% when it comes to.
Iman's lagging. It's like everything is a bit slow paced, or actually fast paced. If I lower the frame rate, let's make it, for example, 8, it's gonna be way more laggy.
And I'm talking the top 10% when it comes to your income.
You can see it's way more laggier. Now we want to prevent this from the video itself, but we want to add it onto the animations, because the animations look way smoother that way, way better when they're laggier. So I'm gonna go like 16 FPS. By the way, this composition, if you guys remember, we went with 30 FPS, so this is gonna be like half the movement, which is basically with posterized time. So if I select all pre-comps over here and I right click, I can pre-compose those as well. Now when I pre-compose those, these are joined onto a layer, and you can see if I go inside, these 3 animations only exist. And over here we can add the adjustment layer. So you get my point. Now this adjustment layer will not get implemented on everything, but it will only get implemented on the pre-comp. So let me take this adjustment layer. I'm gonna do Control X so we can like delete the adjustment layer, and I'm gonna do Control V over here so we can paste it. And now let's look at it. It's laggy and it's good. If I go outside to the main pre-composition, which is scene 2,
in the top 10% when it comes to your income, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your attractiveness.
You can see Iman Gadi is not lagging, but the effect and everything else, the animations are lagging, which makes it very, very smooth and very, very good.
The top 10% when it comes to your income, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your attractiveness.
Now, that is good. I think we should explore more into what happens in these right clicks, because I feel like this is something that's very major before we move on to the other parts of After Effects. So let me break down each one of these one by one. Initially we have text, which basically you can just create a text layer. We already went over that. If I right click, go to new, we have solid. Now what is solid? Solid is the background. If I select over here, I can make it whatever background I want. So you can see now what happens is that the background overlaps on all of this. But obviously, whatever is on top has priority. So if I take this down by 1, you can see now the animations pop up. If I take this down by 1 more, Iman Gadi pops up. If I take it down by 1 more, it doesn't matter because now it's only audio, and audio is not existent as a preview or as a display. So what we want to do is we want to take this below the animations, for example, and now you can see it's a very shit color, which is like ruining the whole thing. But for instance, if we go solid and we make it as black and I play it down below the pre-comp, now you can see it's not camouflaging, looks decent. And yeah, that's pretty much what solid does. Nothing much more. You can get a bit smarter with it eventually, but not now. We have light, which is something we're gonna discover later, and don't worry about it now, as well as camera and null object. Null object is an interesting one because all of this could have been done with null object, and I'll get into that right after I cover the rest. So we have shape layer, as you guys know, and then adjustment layer, as you guys just showed. Content aware fill layer, ignore. Photoshop file, ignore. Max and 3D, ignore. And over here we can like fix up the composition settings if we want. Reveal composition in project, it shows us where the composition is in the project panel, and then other things which you really don't need to worry about. So yeah, let's explain the power of null object. Supposedly, let me just click on the pre-compositions. You can see everything that I've done is on the pre-composition. It's on the layer itself. Let's say if you don't want to make pre-compositions and you want to move the layers together. If you remember, there was a point I brought up, which was like, how do I move both of these at the same time? So if I move my triangle, you can see the heart is not moving with it. But this is a very, very easy fix. We have something called parent and child. So a parent is the main layer that moves by itself, and the child is the layer that follows the parent. Now in this situation, let's say any of them can be parent. We can see over here we have parent and link. So if I take this, it's called whip. If I make the child, if I select the child and I make the heart to the parent, now if I move the heart, the child moves with it. But if I move the child, the heart doesn't move with it, because now the child is linked to the parent, but the parent is not linked to the child, so it doesn't come vice versa. So if I undo, you can see this is linked to the PNG, and if I try to link the PNG to the shape layer, it doesn't work because you cannot link two things at once. There'll be a logical error. So let me do none. If I can also link, for example, the PNG to the triangle. Now if I select the triangle layer, the PNG is moving as well. The PNG is the heart, by the way. Let's say if I even go to like align the PNG, the heart is aligned automatically. If I rotate the PNG, or sorry, the shape layer, the PNG rotates with it. So it's like the child is following the parent. This is what a null layer does, or this is what the concept of null does, but it's not a null layer. So we have something called null layer. So if I do null object over here, we have this little box that's created. Now this box can be linked to in order. So if I move the box anywhere, the things that are linked to the box will move. So supposedly, let me select both of these and I link them to the box, which is null. And if I move the box, everything moves with it. Why? Because both of these are linked to the null. So they are the child and this is the parent. I hope this is pretty self-explanatory. I hope you get this more. If you don't, this will be broken down a lot into deeper animations and deeper things that I do. I would suggest you just to double check everything on YouTube, search up everything on YouTube. I'm saying this in a way where I really want you to understand the best of each topic, which I see something that's very important. I mastered null, I mastered each and every single tool by just diving deeper into each and every single tool, which is something that you have to do. Because in After Effects, you have to be master of all. You can't only be master in null, but you don't know how to rotate things. It doesn't work that way. You have to be jack of all trades, master of all in After Effects. So yeah, that's a null layer. Now, we do have this. Let's get into just exporting the file. Or before I get into exporting, actually, if you guys remember, I told you that there is this one thing over here referred to as motion blur. And let's say if I enable motion blur, you can see what happens. You can see the motion blur that's on the movement, very smooth. And if I turn off the motion blur, see what happens? It's gone. So this is pretty much what motion blur does. If I play it, boom, boom, boom. So there is a motion blur on each movement, which is very, very classy looking, very smooth and very good. But yeah, let's get into rendering. So let me go to scene 2, which is the main composition, and this is where we render everything. So if I go to file, or actually composition, there's something that says render. I believe render should be here. Yeah, over here, add to render queue. So if I click over here, we have this render queue. Now let me break down what render queue is. Render queue is where you can queue all your renders. What is the synonym of render? Export. Now I have this video in my editing app, but how can I get it into my gallery? By exporting. And that's what we need to do. We need to export this. So how do I export? There are settings over here. So if I click on this, you can see we have all these settings. Honestly, I barely use anything over here, except sometimes I do use proxies when the files are very heavy. Proxies help a lot, and this is something we'll dive deeper into later on, not right now. If I go over here, lossless, you can see I can select the format. So we have all these different formats, MP3, QuickTime. So this is the format for video, for MP4. H.264 is referred to as MP4. So if I select this is something we usually want to render, MP4. We have these channels, RGB alpha, which is something you don't need to worry about, to be honest, right now. As I said, all of these things are all for later. So now I can select OK, and I can even adjust these settings and stuff, but there's nothing much to adjust. Over here you can see if I select on this down arrow, there is a lot of templates. So usually I just render H.264 40 Mbps because this is the fastest, the best and everything. By going into format options, you can adjust the target bitrate. The target bitrate should be as high as possible, so I usually have it on 40. You can even take it up to 50. You can even take it way more. I think on Premiere Pro you can take it 500. Yeah, 50 is good. 50 is the maximum, and YouTube just supports up to 50, so everything above 50 doesn't really matter. This is from my last remembrance of information. So I click OK. Now I can even rename the file. I can export it to wherever I want. So I can take it to my documents, and I'll rename it After Effects Video Sample Preview. And now it's renamed, and I can render. So now you can see it's rendered very fast, and now it has gone into my file explorer. So let me open up File Explorer. I'm just gonna go to Quick Access rather than going to the location because I have a lot of files. But anyways, here I found it. If I double click, here is our video exported.
When it comes to your income, when it comes to your...
So let me play it with audios just so you guys can see.
And I'm talking the top 10% when it comes to your income, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your attractiveness.
So, yep, I think that's pretty much it. We covered a lot from After Effects. The next tutorial will be something that's very important, and I'm gonna be filming it on Mac. Why? Because I have everything set up on my Windows already, and the process is literally the same, but on my Mac it's pretty empty because I don't edit on my Mac. So I'm gonna download everything with you guys, all the scripts, everything that we need, just right in front of your guys' eyes, and that way we can literally crush together. And yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It may have gotten a bit long, but this is the sake of it. And if you guys are watching until this point, I really appreciate you guys. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.